Welcome to Zen and the Art of Homeschooling. I'm Ollie Malley, and today with me is
Meshach Malley.
so this is our oldest son,
That's right.
who homeschooled from K through 12 and is now in college.
I am, yes.
Yeah, at Denison.
At Denison University.
Right, here in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And we're to talk a little bit about what homeschooling was like for him and any advice he has for kids that are newly at home and just some of the experiences he had and how that has influenced his adult life here.
Homeschooling, especially when I was very young, I remember not having a very clear differentiation between what was school and what was not school, and I think that was relatively intentional. Um, Reading a lot of books, often reading a lot of books outside of the structured school that only years later I realized were instructional or helpful or yeah, I think it was a lot of play. It was a lot of like just figuring things out. Elementary school, I remember we have a beautiful backyard, and I remember building bows and arrows with my sister and friends that would come over, and we would just shoot bows and arrows into the forest behind our house for hours. We dug a hole once, a very deep hole in the backyard.
It's scary deep, actually.
Scary deep. But it was good. It was a lot of outside. It was a lot of reading. It was a lot of just kind of figuring out what are the avenues of creativity that you want to pursue, and I think that, and then letting you pursue those avenues to the degree that you could.
Right. So you said you sometimes didn't know the difference between school time and home time and
Well,
playtime.
yeah, and I think it sort of becomes one kind of continuous thing. When I was really young, we didn't watch a lot of television. We didn't watch a lot of movies. And so I sort of had this obsession with I wanted to watch movies. I wanted to create or I wanted to watch movies so bad that I decided that I was going to just create them myself. And so I took the old video camera they had in the bedroom closet, and I just started shooting little videos. And now I'm a cinema student at Denison University. And so it's sort of all been school, right? In one way or another, that experience I had when I was 7 years old shooting Lego minifigures in the spare bedroom has translated now to, being at a liberal arts school and running around with cameras again. So it all is kind of this fluid learning experience.
Right. Did you think things changed when you got to middle or high school? We started homeschooling from middle or high school, or was it still pretty similar? Is there any distinction?
There was more structure. So as we sort of moved up, there was definitely a sense of, well, there are specific things you need to learn. You can't just, shoot arrows into the woods. You have to learn math and history and government and, the fundamental basics, algebra and biology and chemistry and so on. And so we definitely incorporated some structure into it, kind of slowly layering it in as it felt necessary.
And you were a real big one for projects
I
and
was.
big ideas, I guess we would call it. You had
Yes.
some very big ideas at a very young age. I mean, you started at age 6 or 7.
Hmm.
Your younger brother was just
My
born.
youngest brother was just born, yeah, and I wrote a
And
play. I wrote the entire Wizard of Oz play, and I started casting friends. It wasn't even spelled correctly. It was written with Crayola markers in a notebook, and I just made photocopies of it, and I would just give it to people. And I was trying to put on a production of The Wizard of Oz at age 7, and then they escalated. I mean, that was the lower end of the things
right,
that we wanted to
right.
do, and I think for years I was begging my mother to let us do a restaurant in our house,
Yes.
which is just so absurd for me to think about now that I was
Hmm.
I was so completely frustrated that there was absolutely no way you were going to let us do a restaurant at 7 and 8 years old. And
Hmm.
then when we hit 10 years old, you finally kind of gave in, and we ended up doing a restaurant. And the good thing was those projects were able to sort of facilitate the rest of the education. So when we were 10 years old and putting a pizza restaurant together in our living room, there's budgeting and there's planning and there's group dynamics that you're learning, and you're learning real world skills that then absolutely transfer to a job, 5, 7 years later. So it was this sort of this holistic learning. I go to a liberal arts university now, and I think I have a little bit of this sort of holistic passion that I don't just want to learn how to make movies, but I want to study philosophy and politics and art and theater, and I think it sort of resonates from this grounding of, doing a restaurant in our house where we are learning. We're learning how to do this whole array of things, but it's stemming from this bigger overall project. Yeah, I mean, we did a lot. We did a lot of these kind of big scale projects. We did a summer camp. My sister, you should have her on. She did. We started. Yeah, I think similar time to the pizza restaurant. We did a summer camp for kids, 4, 5, 6-year-olds, and we're like 10, 11, 12. And we're doing
like 15 kids or something.
15 kids, yeah, and we have this whole big summer camp in our backyard. And my sister ended up doing that for 6 or 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah, and so it was sort of, and those projects just continue and they evolve and they change, and you're still learning and growing, and so it was sort of this abstraction from the traditional curriculum-based homeschooling, which there was learning out of books, and there was there was structure to it, but there was also this sense that we had a little bit more freedom in terms of what we were able to do.
Right. I think you guys didn't really feel like you had limits of what
No.
You weren't very limited. You felt like you could do things. I mean, one of my examples was when you were 12 and you went out for soccer. You'd never done soccer before.
No.
It was the last year you could do soccer, age 12, in the community recreation center, and you just said, I'm just going to do soccer.
Right. Most of these kids have been doing soccer since they were 4 years old, right? They had
Right.
8 years of soccer under their belt. I was
Right.
terrible.
Right.
I was absolutely awful at soccer. I was probably the worst player on the team. But it was fun. It was fun, and it was on a team, and it was every Saturday and Wednesday practice, and that was fine.
Right. Your sister went on to do it a few more years, and
She still does it. She still plays soccer.
You're right. She plays soccer. She did play soccer all through high school too.
Yeah.
But just that sense of you want to do something, you could do it. You wanted to make a movie, you made movies. You wanted to do a restaurant, or you wanted to and giving you those real life experiences too.
Right.
And they were fun.
They were fun.
They were a lot of fun.
But they also were work. I mean, I remember doing the Popeyes Pizza, the restaurant, and just being exhausted by the end of it.
Oh.
That it wasn't an easy thing to do. But there was an excitement behind it, and there was this sense that we could do it, and we did.
Great. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more next time about homeschooling middle and high schoolers, because I think that is an important topic.
Yes, that would be excellent.
So thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Okay. We'll see you next time.